What's up, guys? Week 3, the final day of this current block of a dad strength. So really just kind of doing some hip prehab here. So some mini band flexion isometrics. I'm kind of really just getting a little bit of exposure to some resisted hip flexion as that typically lights me up. Going into some side plank variations here in a good extended position. The top leg kind of gives just a little bit of another added component to this for some more glute stability, but really focusing on that bottom glute more than anything. You guys have seen me do this before, but this is, I personally like doing a lot of my hip prehab at the beginning of my lifts. By the time I'm done with my main lifts, I'm usually just pretty cooked, and I just really don't feel like doing anything else more. So that's from an abduction standpoint. Now we're on the extension component. So just doing some single leg bridge isometrics to get a little bit of extension on the down leg. And then the up leg, kind of get a 2-for-1 with a little bit of some resisted hip flexion through that mini band. So really like this because you get it from both different ends. And again, these are both relatively weak areas for me, as I've noticed, not only hip flexion at 90 degrees and above, but also just getting that extended position on the right side without getting any pinching in the groin more than anything. So this is really just, I'll do like 2 rounds of these. I'm only showing 1 round here, but I'll typically do about 2 rounds going through these. And then the last one that I'll do of that kind of circuit is just a split squat isometric hold. So really with this one, I'm kind of just finding what's the current angle and depth that I can get to on that front leg without getting pinchy at the groin. So I'm probably about like 45, 60 degrees here. And this has gotten better. It's just really more about just gradually exposing load in those certain positions to then hopefully, take into place later in, maybe in a later cycle of some heavier kind of single leg or split squat work that typically if I were to do that right now, that would light me up along with like a heavier back squat. So we're kind of really just kind of building it from a foundational level. You're going to see I do some Zerchers later in the workout. That seems to really be helpful because it helps to keep an upright posture. So moving on to now, clean warm up. You have seen me do this before. So really just some pulls into a pull and a quick turnover, not necessarily a full turnover, but going through there, then kind of working into that hang position a little bit because today's going to be a hang power clean, and we're really just moving up to the hip. I was planning on doing power cleans from the floor today, but honestly, just getting down to that bottom pull position, not only for cleans, for deadlifts as well, has not felt great on the hip. So honestly, going from the hang is good because I'm not getting in as much hip flexion or trunk flexion combined. So that's kind of why we're going to do a lot of work from the hip today, but we're still going to go for a relatively heavier single to get that higher intensity stimulus more than anything. So going into now just some high hang power cleans, going to above the knee, slow into a pull. So really just getting a good feel for a lot of these positions. I'm a big believer in if you take the warm up like you would normally from a lift standpoint. So first singles here. So we had about 5 or 6 singles. So first one was at 155. Second one was at about 185 here, just coming off the rack and feeling good. And now we're kind of our main working sets here. So we're at 205 here. You see I got rocked back pretty good on that. Just really over pulled back. So made the jump to go up to 215. Honestly, that felt good. Just better pushing through the floor. And then I believe this is my final rep here at 225. So the re-rack kind of sucks on this, but really more than anything, these actually felt pretty solid. So now I moved on to, some Zerchers. So we just got 3 sets of 3 here. Last week I finished at 3x3 all sets of 185, and I made some more jumps this week. These honestly felt pretty solid with the hip. Again, I like Zerchers for those that have pinching in the front of the hip because you don't have as much trunk flexion. You have a little more upright posture, and you can better regulate the depth more than anything. So I'm like stopping right at 90. If I were to bottom out, I know it would not feel good in my hip. Let's go up to 195 here. Just honestly felt good. Like anyone that's done Zerchers will tell you, if you struggle learning how to brace, that will help.